of the National Assembly to approve for it over $4 billion and 710 million euros. Senate says it will consider a ramp-up of more resources for security agencies in the 2022 appropriation. And outside Nigeria, Tropical Storm Nicholas has been downgraded from a hurricane after making landfall on the Texas coast in the U.S., bringing heavy rain and the risk of life-threatening flooding. Those are our top stories. Details in just a moment. This is Galaxy Television News. Thanks for joining us. I'm Solomon Ofem. President Muhammadu Buhari Tuesday in Abuja said ongoing efforts to reduce poverty in the country continue to grow, with 1.6 million poor and vulnerable households comprising more than 8 million individuals currently benefiting from the conditional cash transfer program, while 300 billion naira has been disbursed to farmers. Speaking virtually at the evening ceremony of the 14th Annual Banking and Finance Conference of Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, the president said the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Nigerians had 32.6 million persons from 7 million poor and vulnerable households identified, imploring bankers to play a stronger role in improving livelihoods. To further strengthen recovery and enable more Nigerians, President Buhari said last year he approved the establishment of InfraCo PLC, a world-class infrastructure development vehicle wholly focused on Nigeria, with combined debt and equity takeoff capital of 15 trillion naira, managed by an independent infrastructure fund manager.
A recent report from the National Bureau of Statistics revealed that Nigeria's gross domestic product grew 5.01% in the second quarter of 2021, the strongest rise since the fourth quarter of 2014. This is sharing news and an indication that the efforts of this administration at repositioning the economy is paying off. As you all may know, the African Continental Free Trade Area, of which Nigeria is subscribed, is not only an opportunity for the growth of trade, but also the growth of Pan-African businesses.
In a goodwill message, President Paul Kagame of Republic of Rwanda said exploring new technology in the banking sector with more focus on innovation will enhance financial inclusion, while the Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele said the regulatory body had been working with the Bankers Committee to scale the challenges posed by COVID-19, which include reduction of interest rates on loans, increasing the moratorium for payment, and injecting 3 trillion naira loans in the private sector.
Whatever affects business affects banking. Financial services are the engine of private sector development. Banks are crucial for allocating the capital wisely and productively. Indeed, Africa has the resources to fund its own economic growth and reduce dependency on external resources.
President Muhammadu Buhari has requested the Senate approval of fresh borrowing to the tune of $4.054 billion, 710 million euros, and a grant of $125 million to finance critical projects in the 2021 budget. Buhari's request was contained in his letter read by Senate President Ahmad Lawan at plenary following the resumption of the upper chamber from its 2-month annual vacation. Galaxy's Godfrey Shimuge has details.
This is the first day back at the Senate chambers since mid-July, when the National Assembly embarked on its annual vacation. Back in business as usual, legislative activities are kicking off with yet another round of external borrowing. In giving some clarity in his letter, the President says this is part of the proposed 2018 to 2021 federal government external borrowing rolling plan, earlier approved by the National Assembly.
The distinguished Senate President may wish to recall that I earlier transmitted a request on the proposed 2018-2020 federal government external borrowing plan for the concurrent approval of the Senate in May 2021. However, in view of other emerging needs and to ensure that all critical projects approved by FEC, Federal Executive Council, as of June 2021 are incorporated, I hereby forward an addendum to the proposed borrowing plan.
He said that the projects listed in the addendum to the 2018-2021 federal government external borrowing plan are to be financed through sovereign loans from the World Bank, French Development Agency, China Exim Bank, International Fund for Agriculture Development IFAD, and Credit Suisse Group, among others. President Buhari assures that this round of borrowing is in the overall interest of Nigerians.
Projects and programs in the borrowing plan were selected based on positive technical and economic evaluations and the contribution they would make to the socio-economic development of the country, including employment generation and poverty reduction, as well as protection of the most vulnerable and very poor segments of the Nigerian society. The Senate may also wish to know that all the listed projects in the addendum form part of the 2018-2021 external borrowing plan and covered both the federal and state government projects and are geared towards the realization of the Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan that cuts across key sectors such as infrastructure, health, agriculture and food security, energy, education and human capital development and COVID-19 response efforts.
Meanwhile, President Buhari has also written the Senate submitting 2 bills seeking Senate consideration and passage. These are the Explosives Bill and the Small Arms and Light Weapons Bill 2021. Godfrey Eshamuge, Galaxy News, Abuja.
The Senate says it will consider a ramp-up of more resources for security agencies in the 2022 appropriation. Senate President Ahmad Lawan said this on Tuesday in his welcome speech at the resumption of plenary Tuesday. Lawan said even though the National Assembly approved over 800 billion naira for security and intelligence agencies, it will be necessary to increase funds and resources to the security sector.
Distinguished colleagues, let me applaud and commend our gallant armed forces for the recent successes recorded in their fight against insurgency and banditry in our country. I want to urge them to sustain the campaigns until the insurgents and bandits are rooted out in our country. Distinguished colleagues will recall that we approved the supplementary budget request of the Executive in July this year, just before we proceeded for the annual summer recess.
The Senate President disclosed further that the Senate now awaits the presentation of the 2022 appropriation bill by the President anytime soon.
Let me emphasize that the Senate, indeed the National Assembly, is prime and ready to receive and start work on the bill. That's the appropriation bill. The standing committees are ready to receive ministries, departments, and agencies for budget defense. As in the previous years, all MDAs are expected to defend their budget proposals within the month of October 2021, as this is the only allotted window for that exercise.
The Senate President disclosed further that the Senate now awaits the presentation on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill passed by the Senate and House of Representatives on July 2021. The Senate President announced that a conference committee will be set up to harmonize the two versions of the bill.
Distinguished colleagues, both the Senate and the House of Representatives passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill in July 2021. There are, however, some differences between the two versions of the bill. There is therefore the need to set up a conference committee between the two chambers to harmonize the two versions. The Senate Conference Committee will be announced soon.
The House of Representatives Committee on Defense on Tuesday received a delegation from the Defense Academy, which briefed it on the security breach that took place at the Nigerian Defense Academy, Afaka, on the 24th of August 2021. Commandant General of the Defense Academy, Major General Ibrahim Yusuf, heard earlier told the House that concerted efforts are ongoing to ensure the release of the abducted soldiers. The suspected bandit had on that fateful day attacked the NDA in Kaduna Academy, killing 2 officers. Addressing the lawmakers, the commandant said he had classified the document and would prefer to display it in the absence of the media. He said the reason for the series of visits to the academy was due to the regard Nigerians have had for the institution. The chairman of the committee, Babajimi Benson, who obliged the army officers, requested for executive session to allow him to display the classified information.
And perhaps more importantly, the ongoing efforts that we are making to recover the abducted officer, and also the measures that the Academy is currently placing to ensure that this does not ever occur again. At this point, I would like to also register my deep appreciation and to inform the House as well that the day this incident occurred, the Chief of Defense Staff visited the Academy the same day.
We had very frank discussions with the General. The size of the NDA is hugely large, and efforts are making that this occurrence shall never happen again. I'm also assured by his contribution and the measures they've put into place that this will never happen again. It's an unfortunate incident that happened, but Nigerians should be rest assured that NDA is safe and other military formations along that area has been duly fortified. We're still expecting further reports from them. We've had them to come up with some other documents and further and better particulars so that we can also see and reassess.
The member representing Jos South and East Federal Constituency of Plateau State in the House of Representatives, Honorable Jack Long Musa Bagos, has faulted the federal government for lacking the political will in ending the incessant killings in Plateau State. The lawmaker said this during a media briefing of journalists in Abuja Tuesday. He said peace agreements entered into and signed by the Plateau State government, victims and the so-called unknown gunmen has neither resolved the problem nor end the killings. He said insecurity has become a big national challenge as every constituency, a community in the country has at one time or the other been hit by these unrepentant assailants who leave citizens in pain with many lives and property lost and damaged.
Like the name, people have tried to cage the killings on the plateau as a communal clash. I've never seen, if it's a clash, me and you, we are fighting, we'll all go with wounds. But it's not a clash. It's pure genocide, pure land grabbing, pure chasing people from their lands. So it's not, and you see, that's the angle that if government is not seriously proactive in addressing the issue with its own name, and you're looking at it as clash.
The House of Representatives on Tuesday adjourned plenary until September 15, sequel to the death of one of its members, Representatives Adedayo Omolafe. Omolafe, until his demise, represented Akure South and Akure North Federal Constituency of Ondo State in the House of Representatives. Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, while announcing the death of Omolafe at the plenary, said it was customary for the House to adjourn sitting once it lost any serving member. He said burial arrangement for the deceased will be announced by the family. Prayers were said for God to grant the family of the late Omolafe the fortitude to bear the loss.
The passing to glory of Honorable Omolafe Isaac Adedayo, representing Akure North, Akure South Federal Constituency, Ondo State. To many of us, he was known simply as Expensive. He passed on during our break on the 15th of August 2021
and the burial arrangements will be communicated by the family. May his soul rest in peace. We'll stand up for a minute's silence and say a quick prayer.
لك قريب مجيب الدعوات يا أرحم الراحمين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. I believe the assembly have witnessed death upon death. Father, let us not witness it again in Jesus' name. Abba, Father, we commit every soul that are in this chamber.
This is Galaxy Television News. Time for us to go for a break. When we come back, at least 114 out of 240 inmates who escaped from the Kaba Medium Security Custodial Center in Kogi State have been recaptured. Bring you details of that and more when we come back. Stay tuned. It is good to have you back. For more updates and latest news, log on to our website, galaxytvonline.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/GalaxyTV Nigeria. You can follow and interact with us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/GalaxyTV. Don't forget to follow and tag us on our Instagram page at Official Galaxy TV. You can also avail our eyewitness feature via WhatsApp if you have breaking news around you. Simply share your story by sending short clips or videos of the news on 0818-6666-669. Our social media platforms are user-friendly and can always accommodate your live updates and comment. At least 114 out of 240 inmates who escaped from the Kaba Medium Security Custodial Center in Kogi State have been recaptured. Heavily armed gunmen stormed the Security Custodial Center in Kaba in Kogi State late on Sunday, freeing scores of inmates it was unclear who the gunmen were, but criminal gangs have terrorized central and northwest Nigeria for years. Poll to have a total of 108 inmates rearrested, Nigeria's Correctional Service spokesman Francis Enabore told newsmen. But as the day progresses, the figure will definitely increase, he added, saying several processes have been activated to ensure all inmates are rearrested. The gunmen invaded the prison, which had 294 prisoners in custody at the time, including 224 pre-trial detainees. A soldier and a police officer lost their lives in the attack, and Enabore later added. Lagos-based legal practitioners have urged the Buhari-led administration to effectively secure all correctional centers across the country. This, they said, is to prevent the backdrops of incessant jailbreaks that has happened in the last 12 months. Galaxy's Valerie Chioma tells us more in this report.
The issue of jailbreak in Nigerian prisons is a fundamental crisis that gives concern to both the government and citizens alike. According to the 2014 prison statistics, the Nigerian Prison Service, NPS, manages about 240 prison facilities ranging from maximum to medium-term security prisons, some of which had in recent times witnessed the illegal release of inmates from custody. the latest being the Kaba jailbreak in Kogi State, where over 240 inmates were released. It is on this premise that Lagos-based legal practitioners cite the legal implications of such acts while also calling for the sack of the Comptroller General.
Of criminals in the society, and then the increase in crime, the increase in the number of cases in court, insane crimes. Whenever you have a security breach in your own territory that you are a security outfit, the head of that security organization is supposed to resign. You resign. You don't wait to be sacked. You resign.
In a country or situation whereby you do not allow the rule of law to prevail at all times, there's no way we are not going to be having crises like this. As I know if this thing has happened in a more civilized society, the Comptroller General himself will have dropped his letter of resignation by now. He wouldn't even wait for him to be sacked. But here we are. There will always be some kind of justification.
In the last 12 months, not less than 15 jailbreaks have been recorded, instigated by the rising rate of insecurity in the country. Barrister Umana notes how the incidence of incendiary jailbreaks can be reduced to the barest minimum.
The first thing is to tackle insecurity. Once you have criminals walking into places without any hindrance and causing havoc, they can plan and enter anywhere. So tackle this insecurity from the roots. Once you do that, before now, were you hearing of any jailbreak? It never happened. It's because of the intensity of insecurity in the land that has resulted in jailbreaks. The main solution is to tackle insecurity from the root.
In the same vein, apart from jailbreaks linked to internal security deficits, Farabi emphasizes the importance of security officers being alert at all times and carrying out their duties without negligence.
Our correctional centers and other institutions, security institutions, should be strengthened, should be fortified. And those who will be manning the place should be up and doing their responsibilities. In the appointment of qualified people to man those posts, we should pay attention to merit rather than brotherhood or tribal sentiment or what have you.
Describing the jailbreak as a threat to Nigeria's national security is indeed an understatement. As a result, there is need to explore every opportunity to prevent future occurrence of such. Valerie Chioma, Galaxy TV News, Lagos.
The Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS, has petitioned the United Nations, saying Nigeria has failed irredeemably and the country is currently at the verge of violent disintegration that will have catastrophic consequences for global peace. The letter was signed by Professor Banji Akintoye, chairman of NINAS, and Ilona Modua, Mr. Tony Nadi, Secretary General NINAS and Coordinator Lower Niger Congress, and Professor Yusuf Turaki of the Middle Belt Movement to mark the commencement of the 11-day Million Man Freedom March organized by NINAS, which kicked off on September 14, 2021. Opposite UN headquarters to show to the world the genocide being perpetrated by murderous herdsmen in the name of grazing in the south and middle belt of Nigeria. The letter dated September 14, 2021 was addressed to the United Nations Security Council, the United Nations Trusteeship Council, and the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA. This came as members of UNGA met at the United Nations headquarters in New York, United States of America, for their 76th session from September 14 to 24, 2021. The body of the letter declared that Nigeria has failed as a state is no longer a subject for debate, having emerged a global poverty capital and playing host to two of the world's top 4 most deadly terrorist organizations, with 3/4 of the constituent component, South and Middle Belt, seeking urgent extradition by way of referendums from what has become a union of death. The federal government has urged civil society organizations to make meaningful contributions towards the promotion and strengthening of accountability and transparency in budgetary process in the country. Minister of State for Budget and National Planning Clement Agba made a call at an event in Abuja Tuesday. He said CSOs must contribute to government effort at providing technical assistance to the tiers of government in order to increase budget transparency that will encourage development in all strata of the Nigerian economy.
We find that a lot of people do not understand the budget. Sometimes the way they look at the budget is just from the ministerial angles. They don't look at it from the sector perspective. And that is why oftentimes you hear things like UNESCO says 26% of our budget should be to education. What we have, it's just 6%, which is not correct.
Stakeholders in the financial sector also enjoined their political counterparts not to take inquiries into government data as an attack on their officers, adding that decent democracy can only be achieved through citizens' engagement and effective participation in public affairs.
The suggestion that by simply asking questions about how your country is being run, by simply demanding accountability from people who supposedly represent you, amounts to attacking and amounts to making trouble, is preposterous to my mind. But from my experience in leading the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, I can attest that Budget's road has been bumpy in the past 10 years.
Efficiency, accountability, transparency, or institutional engagement is valid in every territory. You know, everywhere where you have resources being involved and state power being an issue, then definitely there will be a deal of control and abuse. We want to make sure that people understand their power within a democratic system and they exercise it effectively.
The proposed bill on the Ogun State Value-Added Tax Law 2021 has killed first and second reading on the floor of the State House of Assembly, as all the lawmakers unanimously agreed that the bill, when operational, would accord the state its rightful position as a viable federating unit amongst the committee of states generating worthy financial returns in the country. The lawmakers took turn to throw their weight behind the bill, a bill for a law to impose and charge value-added tax on certain goods and services, provide for the administration of the tax and for related purposes. Shortly after the motion for the second reading was moved by the Majority Leader Yusuf Sharif, seconded by Ganiyu Oyedeji, and supported by the whole House through a voice vote at a plenary presided over by Speaker Olakunle Olumo at the Assembly Complex, Okimosan, Abeokuta. Responding, Speaker Oluomo lauded his colleague lawmakers for their contributions to the bill and posited that the leading position of the state among the Committee of States in the area of revenue generation must be completed and complemented with equal remittance of allocation on monthly basis from the federal account, saying the passage of the new VAT law was part of the need for the fulfillment of fiscal federalism. He thereafter committed the bill to the Committee on Finance and Appropriation for further legislative actions. In a bid to boost acceptability level of the COVID-19 vaccines, the Nigerian health authorities are now engaging Christian religious leaders to educate their congregation on the need to dismiss all fears on vaccine safety. This was the main thrust of the sensitization of Christian leaders on phase 2 of COVID-19 vaccination and Primary Healthcare Development Agency and the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, on an event held in Abuja. As part of efforts to get everyone vaccinated, the Executive Director, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, NPHCDA, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, says the federal government has introduced Sunday vaccination.
Christian leaders across the country have been formidable pillars of support in all our primary healthcare interventions. I am aware that in the states and local government areas, representatives of the Christian Association of Nigeria are strong and committed members of the state and LGA task forces on immunization. These ambassadors have contributed immensely to confidence building and trust in government-led public health programs.
The Minister of State for Health, Dr. Oloronimbe Mamara, insists it is a collective responsibility of religious leaders to protect themselves and the faith communities.
Today, so that at the end of this, we are all convinced that COVID-19 vaccination, and indeed all vaccinations in Nigeria, are meant to protect us from vaccine-preventable diseases. Also, at the end of this meeting, we will leave here with the conviction that we have a collective responsibility to protect ourselves and our faith community from COVID-19.
On his part, the Director General, National Orientation Agency, Garba Abari, says the role of religious leaders in sensitization of their members cannot be quantified. Representative of the United States government present at the event also echoed those views.
And to do this issue and to do this combat, we need all hands on deck. We in the NOA have found the role of religious leaders in desensitization and the advocacy absolutely unquantifiable.
In the months following the global introduction of COVID-19 vaccines, Nigeria has made great strides in ensuring its citizens have access to life-saving vaccination, such that to date, over 4 million of the 112 million eligible persons have been vaccinated, and almost 2 million have received both doses. That is a great feat. That makes Nigeria stand out as a leader in the rollout of life-saving vaccinations for its people.
The Lagos State Ministry of Health has begun the data dissemination on the successful mass administration of medicines for the control of schistosomiasis in the state. This was made known to newsmen during a world-level implementers training for the control of schistosomiasis in Lagos State. The Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, who is heavily represented by the Director Epidemiology, Global Health and Biosecurity, Lagos State, Drismal Abdul Salam, and National Coordinator, NTD, Federal Ministry of Health, Dr. Nse Akpan, said schistosomiasis is the second most important parasitic disease in the world in terms of public health impact. Galaxy's Daniel Tenimo gathered that schistosomiasis affects poor and rural communities, particularly agricultural and fishing populations, and women doing domestic chores in infected water are at risk of getting infected and can develop female genital schistosomiasis.
Most times you see people after swimming in stagnant water or dirty water, they went for fishing, come back, within a day or 2, 3, you started seeing them urinating and you see blood stain or blood in their urine. They were not sick and nothing happened. You see people eating snails, a few days later you see them urinating blood. They have ingested the worms called schistosoma that lead to disease called schistosomiasis.
Well, majorly, you have heard that the disease is neglected, is common, in environments where the issue of water, sanitation, and hygiene is very, very important. These are issues that, if taken care of, will have a very, very reduced prevalence of the neglected tropical diseases.
The speaker further noted the preventive measures the government, stakeholders, community leaders and Nigerians can take to prevent, control and eradicate the disease in the country.
First of all, you don't need to involve yourself in entering that kind of water and said I'm bathing, I'm cooking with it, I'm washing, because you can engage the ova of that worm. Two, you need to eat a well-cooked snail or anything arthropod so that you will not be able to ingest or swallow that ova. So it's very, very common. You can now see that when we talk about sanitation and hygiene practices here, it's one of the kind of things to eliminate that. And we are calling on the press now to go out there and enlighten the populace that schistosomiasis is one of the diseases that can be treated and can be eliminated in the country. And it needs effort of everybody. The community have to participate. People have to be enlightened on how to practice WASH program very well. And we show that when you have people that have this kind of diseases, you report them to the nearest health facility for treatment.
And you know that these neglected tropical diseases can affect anyone. So please, as you look at your corporate social responsibility, remember that there is neglected tropical disease body in Lagos State.
Interfaith religious organizations have pledged to support the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, NACA, in the fight against stigmatization of people living with HIV/AIDS in Nigeria. The organizations made the pledge at the opening session of a two-day national faith-based coordination meeting held in Abuja Tuesday. The group frowned at the level of castigation of those living with the disease, saying they will stop at nothing in ensuring the well-being of the citizens. The religious bodies, which task NACA on more sensitization, urged Nigerians to be more cautious and take precautionary measures to reduce the rate of the prevalence of the disease in Nigeria. The group noted that they are adopting an interfaith approach towards the eradication of all diseases, including COVID-19.
NEPWAN is assuring us that the patient communities that you can find anywhere in this country, at the national level, state level, and local government level, we are ready to partner with this initiative.
Control of AIDS, NACA, can count on the readiness and commitment of the Christian Association of Nigeria as a strategic partner to support your efforts at the national, state, local government.
Earlier, Director General of NACA, Gambo Aliu, who was represented at the event by the Acting Head of Policy, Planning and Coordination, Ifyong Eno, stated that the National Faith-Based Coordination Meeting was organized to strengthen faith-based entities to provide HIV/AIDS services in Nigeria.
In the world to provide services to our clients, the patient community in Nigeria. So, yes, it is a challenge, but we have surmounted it. That's why we call this meeting to review our earlier strategic plan and then begin the implementation. 2020, we put a pause to it because of the lockdown.
The First Lady of Ondo State, Betty Anyanwu Akeredolu, has stressed confidence and expressed confidence in the abilities of the girl child in becoming future technology leaders that will change the country's gender narrative. She spoke at the opening ceremony of the 4th edition of Ondo State Be More Summer Boot Camp, held at Ondo State Public Service Training Institute. She said the life-enhancing skills the girls acquire in the world-class 2-week program would enable them to become ICT independent and be the change agents that Nigeria direly needs. According to her, the summer boot camp was initiated to empower 21st century Nigerian girl child and women folk in general with the right knowledge and skill set for impacting the society positively. The State Deputy Governor, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, lauded the initiative and commended the First Lady for putting in place such laudable program.
This summer boot camp is giving you the opportunity to be part of a few young girls who will lead and inspire generations of girl children. Do your best to listen and learn all you can during this boot camp.
Both affective and psychomotor, and that is part of what you are going to learn here. You will be in the studio to learn, you will be on the pitch to learn, not just the classroom. You will be on the stage to learn. Therefore, give it maximum attention.
You are the future. When you educate a girl child, you educate a nation. Rest assured that the future of Ondo State, the next Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, will not be from Delta, will be from Ondo State.
The internally displaced persons camp in Yandev in Makode local government area of Benue State is appealing to government, corporates and well-meaning Nigerians to assist them with shelter, medical supply and food items. The camp chairman, Rev. Yev Gabriel, made this known with the surge of additional victims, mostly women and children, displaced from their homes in Yelwata, Yobo and Urugbo areas. Others are from neighboring Nasarawa and Taraba states attacked by armed herdsmen. The camp boss says there were initially 10,102 but now 10,407 population with no shelter, toilets, food and medicals. Expressed fears of possible outbreak of diseases with limited resources, barely enough to cater for the population. He thanked Doctors Without Borders who are doing their best to raise structures to assist the camp mitigate challenges of malaria, diarrhea, cough, among other symptoms of health-related issues. However, noted that they need help to assuage the plight of the IDPs.
That is the new incoming IDPs have not been yet provide very well, but just to know how many they are, but to categorize them in this we have not been able to do it properly as we need to do. So, but the previous one, 0 to 5 years is 245.
The Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Kalibaba, has approved the person of DSP Josephine Ade as the new Police Public Relations Officer of the Federal Capital Territory Police Command with immediate effect. DSP Josephine Ade, before her current posting, was the 2IC in charge of strategic communication at the Force Public Relations Department. She was a one-time Deputy Police Advisor as a police attached in New York, United States of America. DSP Ade is an associate member of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations and ANIPR and member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police, IACP. She has also attended the Advanced Detective course at the Police Staff College, Jos. Authorities of the Oyo State Police Command have commenced a discreet investigation on the migration of one Damilare Wabigba, a resident of Ugbomosho, to Rivers State. According to the Commissioner of Police in the state, Ngozi Onodeko, Damilare, a resident of Olodo Oremeri and a skilled laborer as at the time of contact, stated that he had no business in Port Harcourt, but could not give a satisfactory account of himself other than his name and Oyo State address. Onodeko disclosed that the young man was found by a well-meaning member of the public around the G Throne Hotel, Ohakwe Street, a Rumugbo area of Port Harcourt, Rivers State, on the 7th of September 2021. She added that Damilare revealed that he had no business in the area and could not explain how he moved to the area. While district investigations are ongoing to demystify circumstances surrounding his suspicious migration, the Commissioner of Police Oyo State Command urged members of the public with useful information, perhaps contacts linked with Damilare Wabiba, to report immediately to the Oyo State Police Command. It is now time for us to join our international desk for more news.
Welcome to International News. Tropical storm Nicholas have been downgraded from a hurricane after making landfall on the Texas coast and the United States, bringing heavy rain and risk of life-threatening flooding. The storm was upgraded to a hurricane after reaching land at 5:30 GMT, but has now weakened. More than 360,000 power outages have been reported in Texas, according to poweroutage.us. President Joe Biden declared an emergency in Louisiana. It comes just 2 weeks after Hurricane Ida, the fifth strongest to ever hit the U.S. mainland, killed dozens and left more than 1 million Louisiana residents without power. Nicholas is carrying maximum sustained winds of 70 mph, that's 110 km/h, weather officials said, and is expected to hit the Texas coast and upper Louisiana with 5 to 10 inches of rain. There could be rainfall of up to 20 inches across central to southern Louisiana, they said. The U.S. National Hurricane Center said that Nicholas had continued to move slowly inland and has weakened during the past few hours, but it warned that life-threatening flash flooding impacts, especially in highly urbanized metropolitan areas, are possible, and the National Weather Service called it a life-threatening situation. He warned that drainage systems still clogged from Ida could trigger flash floods. More than 119,000 homes and businesses remain without power in Louisiana due to Ida, he added. Texas Governor Greg Abbott declares a state of emergency in 17 counties and 3 cities. Hosting Mayor Sylvester Turner warned of flooding and urged the city's roughly 2.3 million residents to stay off streets and motorways. The number of extremely hot days every year when the temperature reaches 50 Celsius has doubled since the 1980s, a Global Newsman analysis has found out. They also now happen in more areas in the world than before, presenting unprecedented challenges to human health and to how we live. The total number of days above 50 Celsius, that's 120 Fahrenheit, has increased in each decade since 1980. On average, between 1980 and 2009, temperatures passed 50 Celsius about 14 days a year. The number rose to 26 days a year between 2010 and 2019. In the same period, temperatures of 45 Celsius and above occurred on average an extra 2 weeks a year. As the whole world warms, extreme temperatures become more likely. High heat can be deadly for humans and nature and cause major problems to buildings, roads, and power systems. Temperatures of 50 Celsius happen predominantly in the Middle East and Gulf regions, and after record-breaking temperatures of 48.8 Celsius in Italy and 49.6 Celsius in Canada. This summer, scientists have warned that days over 50 Celsius will happen elsewhere unless we cut fossil fuel emissions. The analysis also found out that in most recent decade, maximum temperatures increased by 0.5 Celsius compared with the long-term average of 1980 to 2009. But these increases have not been felt equally around the world. Eastern Europe, Southern Africa, and Brazil saw some maximum temperatures rise by more than 1 Celsius, and parts of the Arctic and Middle East recorded increases of more than 2 Celsius. Scientists are calling for urgent action from world leaders at a UN summit in Glasgow in November, when governments will be asked to new emissions cuts in order to limit global temperature rises. Still on the international news, Greek authorities are investigating the crash of a private plane from Israel that killed a prosecution witness in Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial. Haim Geron, a former senior official at Israel's Ministry of Communications, and his wife Esther were killed when the single-engine Cessna 182 plane crashed late on Monday off the island of Samos. The Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs identified the victims, both aged 69, adding that consular officials and the ministry were working with the family to return the bodies. Geron was one of more than 300 witnesses prosecutors listed for Netanyahu's trial and corruption charges. The former Israeli Prime Minister is on trial for allegedly accepting expensive gifts from wealthy associates, allegations he denies. Geron had been expected to testify on allegations that Netanyahu negotiated with a telecommunications firm to secure positive coverage in exchange for policies befitting and benefiting the company. Greece Air Accident Investigation and Aviation Board is investigating the causes of the crash, officials said on Tuesday. The single engine took off from Haifa and crashed near Samos Airport. The bodies of the two Israeli occupants were recovered by the Coast Guard several hours later with the help of divers. Netanyahu, now the opposition leader of the Israel's parliament, has denied all accusations and mocked the size of the witness list. And now, finally, from the international scene, the meeting between Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi likely focused on de-escalating tensions between Israel and Palestinian armed groups in Gaza Strip and could lead to an easing of restrictions on the occupied enclave, analysts say. The two leaders met for talks on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and bilateral ties on the first official trip by an Israeli leader to Egypt in a decade. Bennett, head of far-right Yamina Party, who took off in June, met the Egyptian president on Monday in the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh in the southern Sinai Peninsula. The talks came after days of low-intensity shelling and rocket fire between Israel and Gaza. According to an Egyptian presidential statement, the talks focused on Egypt's efforts to maintain calm in the occupied Palestinian territories and the importance of international support for rebuilding efforts there. Ramallah-based political analyst Ismail Mansour told newsmen the two sides likely focused on de-escalating the recent flare-up between Israel and Palestinian armed groups. And that's all from the international scene at this time.
For more international news, we move over to entertainment news.
Welcome to Entertainment News. Nollywood actress Regina Daniels is throwing support behind her husband, Prince Ned Nwoko, who is on a mission to eradicate malaria from the African continent. Just recently, the movie star followed her husband to Sierra Leone, where they both met with President Julius Maada. Regina shared photos on her Instagram page in which she and her husband were spotted with the president. In a caption, she explained that they had a fruitful meeting as it regards the complete eradication of malaria from Africa. Nigerian veteran comedian Bright Pocher, popularly known as Basket Mouth, is celebrating 43 years on Earth today, September 14, and is thankful for all the successful years. Basket Mouth, who boasts of a blistering career in Nigeria's entertainment industry that has lasted over 2 decades, opines that the world looks more beautiful looking at it from the 43rd angle. He posted a picture of himself on his verified Instagram page with his caption. Singer Terry Apala and his friends were robbed on 3rd Mainland Bridge in Lagos last night. The singer said the cutlass-wielding robbers attacked them while in the traffic and stole the phones among other items. Showing off the damages done to his car, he prayed that his friends survived the injuries they sustained from the attack. Update on Twitter ban. Social media giant Twitter has said that its discussion with the Nigerian government on restoration of its services in the country has been respectful and productive. A Twitter spokesperson in a statement made available to People's Gazette on Monday evening as the controversial ban hit 100 days, said that they will continue to engage with the Nigerian government to discuss why Twitter has been blocked and ways to resolve the matter.
And with those entertainment stories, we end the news for this time. Thanks for watching. I'm Solomon of him. Bye-bye.